I never thought my life would start with a secret. I married a man who had already been married once before. People said I was foolish. They whispered behind my back, "Why choose someone with a broken past?" But I loved him. I believed in second chances. I believed love could heal everything. I thought our story would be different, better. But the truth was waiting for me, dark, heavy, and it changed everything forever. When I first met him, I did not see the word divorced on his face. I only saw his eyes. They were calm, but inside them there was a kind of sadness. The kind of sadness that makes you stop and look twice. He was older than me, not too old, but enough to look like he had lived more life. I was young, naive, full of dreams about love, marriage, and family. We met at a family friend's dinner. I remember the warm light of the room, the sound of plates and spoons, and the way people laughed. He was sitting alone, not talking too much, not trying to be the center of attention. But somehow, my eyes kept going back to him. When someone whispered to me, "That is Amir, he is divorced," I felt a little shock. The word divorced was heavy for me at that time. I was raised to think marriage was forever, and anyone who failed was broken. But when I looked at him again, he did not look broken. He looked human, real, and honest. We talked that night. Only a little. He asked me about my studies. I asked him about his work. His voice was deep, but soft, like someone who chooses every word carefully. I liked that about him. He was not like the boys my age. They always tried too hard. They laughed too loud. They wanted to look important. But Amir, he was different. I did not know it then, but that dinner would change my life. That one night would open a door that I could never close again. Days passed, then weeks, but I kept remembering him. The way he smiled only a little. The way his eyes looked like they carried 1,000 unsaid stories. And before I knew it, we met again. This time not in a big family gathering, but in a smaller visit, when my uncle invited him over. I remember standing in the kitchen, making tea, my hands shaking, not knowing why, and when I gave him the cup, he looked straight at me and said, "Thank you." So simple, but in that moment, I felt like my heart skipped a beat. We started meeting more often, always with family around, never alone, but little by little, I started learning about him. He was divorced because his wife left him, not because he hurt her, not because he was a bad man, but because she chose another life, another man, and left him with nothing. When he told me this, I felt my heart ache for him. I thought, how can someone leave a man like him? So gentle, so kind, so loyal. I told myself, if I were in her place, I would never let go. Soon my family started to notice. The way I looked at him, the way he looked at me. Whispers began. Some were supportive, some were not. Why would she want a divorced man? She is young, she could do better. But I did not listen. I told myself, love is not about what people say. It is about what your heart feels. One evening, when the sky was pink with sunset, he finally said the words, "I know I am not the first choice people expect for you, but if you choose me, I promise I will spend my life trying to keep you happy." My breath stopped. For a moment, I could not speak. I just looked at him, and in that silence, I knew my answer, yes. That single word changed everything. Our families talked, some arguments happened, some fears were spoken, but in the end, love won, and soon, I became his wife. The first days of our marriage felt like a dream. We laughed, we cooked together. He told me stories about his childhood. I told him about my little secrets, and for the first time in my life, I felt safe, truly safe, like I was where I belonged. He was careful with me. He never raised his voice. He never made me feel small. He treated me with respect, as if I was something precious. And in those moments, I thought I had made the best decision of my life. But even in that happiness, there were shadows. I noticed sometimes, when he thought I was not looking, his smile would fade. His eyes would drift far away, like he was lost in some memory, a memory that did not include me, a memory of his past. I told myself, it is normal. He had a life before me. He had love before me. He had pain before me, and I could not erase that. But I hoped, with time, my love would be enough to heal those old wounds. I did not know then that the past never stays quiet. It always waits, in silence, until one day, it walks back into your life. The first year of our marriage felt like a dream that I never wanted to wake up from. Every morning, he would wake me with a soft smile and a cup of tea, made just the way I liked it, too sweet for his taste, but perfect for mine. I would laugh and say, "You don't even drink tea like this. Why do you make it for me?" And he would answer, "Because it makes you smile, and your smile makes my day." Simple words, but when he said them, they touched my heart. We made small traditions together. On Fridays, we would cook together. He chopped vegetables. I rolled the dough, and we laughed at how messy the kitchen became. On Sundays, we walked in the park, hand in hand, talking about life, dreaming about the future. He wanted children one day, and I wanted them too. We would sit under the old trees and imagine little hands running between us, little voices calling us Mama and Baba. I thought this was love, not the kind for movies, but the real kind, quiet, gentle, and strong. We also shared our fears. He told me about his failed marriage, how it broke him, how he lost trust in people, how he thought he would never love again. And I listened, holding his hand, telling him, that was the past. I am your present, and I will be your future. He looked at me, with eyes full of something heavy, and whispered, "I hope you never leave me." Those words stayed in my heart. They were not just hope. They were fear too. Fear of losing again. Fear of being broken again. And I promised him, out loud, I will never leave you, never. At night, when we lay together, he would tell me stories. Stories about his childhood, about the old house he grew up in, about climbing trees with his brothers, about getting into trouble in school, and about his mother's strict rules. I loved hearing him talk, because his voice made me feel safe, like no matter how dark the night was, I was not alone. We also had silly moments. He loved singing old songs. Even though his voice was not very good, I would laugh so much, and he would laugh with me until both of us had tears in our eyes from too much laughter. One time, he brought home a kitten, small, white, with tiny blue eyes. He said, "She looked lonely on the street, just like I once was. Let's give her a home." We named her Luna, and she became part of our family. Our evenings were full of warmth, dinner together, a little TV, or sometimes just sitting quietly, without words, because silence with him did not feel heavy, it felt peaceful. My friends noticed my happiness. They said, "You look so different now, calmer, brighter." And I told them, yes, I found someone who sees me, really sees me. I thought we had everything: love, respect, laughter, dreams, and even the small fights, because sometimes he liked things neat, and I was a little careless. He would shake his head and say, "You left the cupboard open again." And I would laugh, "I'll close it next time." And he would smile, because he could never stay angry at me for long. Life felt simple, but beautiful, like the kind of life people write poems about. Ordinary, yet full of meaning. I trusted him completely. When he came home late, I did not ask questions. When he looked tired, I just made him tea. When he sat quietly, I gave him space, because I believed this is what love is: trust, understanding, and patience. There were times he looked at me with so much love that I felt like the luckiest woman alive, like I had been chosen, saved from an ordinary life, to live a love story that would never break. But sometimes, just sometimes, I saw a shadow in his eyes, a shadow that came and went, like a cloud covering the sun for a moment. It was quick, silent, but enough to make me wonder, what was he thinking about? Was it his past? Was it her? The woman who left him? I told myself no. I told myself, he is mine now. The past is gone, and I am his present and his future. And with that thought, I pushed the doubt away and smiled at him, because I wanted our love to stay pure, untouched by fear, untouched by the past. Little did I know that shadows do not disappear. They only wait, silent, until the day they grow bigger. For now, I believed we were strong. I believed nothing could touch us. And every night, as I closed my eyes next to him, I whispered in my heart, this is forever. At first, the small things felt normal. Every marriage has them. Every couple argues sometimes. But slowly, I began to notice patterns, tiny cracks in our life together, cracks that I tried to cover with love, but they were still there, waiting to grow bigger. It started with his phone. He used to leave it anywhere, on the table, on the bed, on the counter, unlocked, because he said, there is nothing to hide. But one day, I saw a change. He kept it close, always face down, always locked. When it rang, he would step outside and say, it's work. At first I believed him. Of course, work calls happen. But then, why did he smile sometimes when he looked at the screen? Why did he return to the room with a different face? Why did silence follow those calls? I asked once, Who was it? And he answered quickly, just a colleague. Too quickly, like he had prepared the answer before. I told myself, don't doubt, don't question, trust him, because love without trust is nothing. But the seed of doubt, once planted, never truly dies. Then there were his late nights. At first, only once or twice. Then more often, he said, there is too much work. I need to stay longer. I nodded, because I wanted to be supportive. I wanted to be the wife who understands. But deep inside, something felt strange. Something felt wrong. Our dinners became quieter. He would eat quickly, and sometimes not at all. He said he was tired. He said he was stressed, and I believed him, because I wanted to believe him. But when he looked away, when his eyes did not meet mine, I felt a wall that was slowly growing between us. Luna, our little kitten, would jump on his lap, and he would smile. But that smile, it was different now, like it belonged somewhere else, or to someone else. I tried harder, cooking his favorite meals, wearing the dress he once loved, asking about his day, but his answers grew shorter, colder. Fine, busy, later. I told myself, maybe this is just a phase. Every marriage has ups and downs. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe my love was making me paranoid. But the silence kept growing, like a shadow in the room, always there. Even when we smiled, even when we touched hands, the silence spoke louder than us. One night, I woke up. The bed was empty. I walked into the living room and found him sitting alone, in the dark, his phone in his hand, his face lit by the screen. When he saw me, he quickly put it away and forced a smile. You should sleep, he said, but his eyes told another story. I asked softly, is something wrong? He shook his head. No, nothing. But the way his voice cracked made my heart tremble. From that night on, I started watching him closely, the way he avoided my eyes, the way he carried his phone everywhere, the way his laughter sounded different when he was outside on a call. I tried to fight the thoughts. I told myself, he loves me, he chose me, he would never hurt me. But deep down, a small voice whispered, what if? Even small arguments became bigger. Once, I forgot to iron his shirt. He raised his voice, not loudly, but sharper than before. It cut me, not because of the shirt, but because I had never heard that tone from him before. Another time, I asked if we could visit my parents. He sighed heavily and said, do we have to? It felt like a rejection, not just of them, but of me too. The man who once looked at me with love, now looked at me with tiredness, and something else, something I could not name, something heavy, something secret. I started to feel alone, even when he was sitting right beside me, even when his hand was in mine. I felt distance, cold, unspoken, growing between us. I thought of the promises we made, the nights we laughed, the dreams we shared. Where did they go? Why were they fading so fast? Sometimes he would come home late, smelling of perfume that was not mine, not strong, but faint, enough to make my stomach twist. When I asked, he smiled and said, one of my colleagues wears too much perfume, it stays on my clothes, and he laughed, but his laughter did not reach his eyes. I wanted to believe him. I tried to believe him, but my heart knew something was changing. I cried quietly at night, turning my face away, so he would not see, so he would not ask, because I was afraid of the answer he might give. Every day, I hoped things would go back to normal, back to the way they were in the beginning, but deep down, I knew the beginning was gone. Love was still there, but it was no longer enough. There was something else in our story now, something I could not see, but I could feel it, like a storm building in the distance. And storms do not wait forever. It was a winter evening, the sky was heavy with clouds, and the house felt colder than usual. I waited for him at the dinner table. The food was ready, the candles were lit, but the chair across from me stayed empty. Hours passed, and finally, I heard the sound of the door. He walked in, tired, distracted, his eyes not meeting mine. I smiled anyway. Dinner is ready, I said softly. He nodded, but instead of sitting with me, he went straight to the bedroom. I sat there, alone, looking at the food that was turning cold, my hands shaking a little, my heart whispering, this is not love anymore. Later that night, I entered the room. He was already in bed, his back turned to me, breathing heavy like he was asleep, but I knew he was not. I lay down beside him, but the space between us felt wide, like an ocean. and I could not cross it. The next morning, I decided to try again. To bring us closer, I made his favorite breakfast. I even wore the dress he once said made me look like sunshine. When he walked into the kitchen, I said cheerfully, "Good morning," but his reply was flat. A simple morning. He sat, ate quietly, and left, without looking back, without noticing the effort I had made. It hurt, like small cuts on my heart, one after another, day after day. One afternoon, while cleaning, I found an old photo in his drawer. It was of him and her, his first wife. They looked happy, too happy, her smile, his arm around her, the way he looked at her. It was the same way he used to look at me before things began to change. My chest felt tight. I put the photo back, quickly, as if it was something forbidden, something I was not supposed to see. But the image stayed in my mind, burning, refusing to leave. That night, when he came home, I wanted to ask, I wanted to say, "Do you still think of her? Do you still love her?" But the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I just said, "You are late again." And he sighed. "I told you, work." The way he said it, sharp, impatient, made my stomach turn. Something had changed in him, and something was breaking in me. The days grew colder, not just outside, but inside our home too. The laughter was gone. The warmth was gone. Only silence remained. My friends noticed. "You look tired," they said, and I forced a smile. "I am fine." But inside, I was not fine. I was breaking slowly. One evening, when I reached for his hand, he pulled it away, not harshly, but quickly, like my touch was fire, like it burned him. I froze, my hand still in the air, my heart falling into pieces. That night, I cried quietly again, but this time, it felt different. This time, it felt like the beginning of the end. A few days later, I noticed a perfume on his shirt, not the faint one. This time it was strong, sweet, feminine, and definitely not mine. My breath caught. My hands trembled as I touched the fabric, and in that moment, I knew something was wrong, terribly wrong. I waited for him that night, the food untouched, the lights dim, my heart racing. When he entered, I looked at him, and for the first time, I saw the truth in his eyes. Even though he said nothing, he kissed my forehead quickly, like a habit, not like love, and went to the shower, leaving me alone with the storm inside me. I sat on the bed, staring at the wall, my mind spinning, my heart heavy, and one thought echoing again and again: something is about to break. The truth came to me, not in one moment, but in pieces, like broken glass, cutting slowly. One evening, he said he had a late meeting. I nodded. I believed him, because I always did. But hours passed, and something in my chest told me, check, just check once. I called his office. The guard answered, and said softly, "No one is here now, the office closed early today." My heart stopped. My hands felt cold. I whispered, "Thank you," and ended the call. For minutes, I just sat there, in silence, the words repeating in my head. The office closed early. So where was he? Who was he with? Why did he lie to me? I wanted to believe it was nothing. I wanted to protect my heart, but deep down, I already knew. The next day, I decided to follow him. I felt guilty, because love should be trust. But trust was already gone, broken by his secrets. He left the house, saying, "I'll be late again, don't wait for me." And I just nodded, pretending not to care. But inside, my heart was screaming. I waited, then quietly followed, keeping my distance, watching his car in the night, my hands tight on the steering wheel. He drove, not to the office, not to a friend's house, but to a small restaurant on the edge of the city. I parked far away, my heart racing. I told myself, maybe it's a colleague, maybe it's work. But when I saw her, all hope died. A woman, sitting at the table, waiting for him, her smile wide, her eyes shining. And when he entered, his face changed. The tiredness was gone. The coldness was gone. He looked alive, happy, in love. He sat close to her, too close. Their hands touched across the table. And then, he leaned in and kissed her hand. My vision blurred. My chest burned. Tears filled my eyes. But I could not look away. That night, I saw the truth with my own eyes. The man I loved, the man I trusted, the man I promised forever, was already someone else's. I drove back home, the world around me spinning, the lights blurry through my tears, my hands shaking on the wheel. When I entered the empty house, it felt different now. Not safe, Not warm, but like a stranger's place. I sat on the floor, my body trembling, my mind replaying the scene again and again. His smile, his touch, not for me, but for her. When he returned later, he looked calm, like nothing had happened. He even kissed my forehead, like he always did. But I felt it. The kiss was empty. A habit, not love. I whispered softly, "Did you have a good meeting?" He nodded. "Yes, very busy." And my chest tightened, because even now, he was lying, straight to my face. I smiled weakly, but inside, I was dying. The next days were worse. I noticed everything now. The perfume on his shirt, the way he hid his phone, the way his eyes shone only when he looked at the screen, not at me. He thought I did not know, but I knew, and that knowledge was heavier than any truth I had ever carried. I tried to talk to him once. I said softly, "You seem far away lately. Is everything okay?" He forced a smile and said, "Just work," and turned away. My heart screamed, "Why are you lying to me?" But my lips stayed closed because I was afraid of hearing him admit it, afraid of losing the last thread of us. At night, I lay awake beside him, listening to his steady breathing, feeling the distance between us grow wider, and in the dark, I whispered to myself, "He is not mine anymore." The pain was sharp, but the silence was sharper, because betrayal is not only the act, it is the lie, the smile that hides the truth, the kiss that means nothing, the words that cut deeper than knives. And as I cried into my pillow, something inside me shifted. A small voice, dark, cold, and steady, whispered, "If he can betray you, he can also be punished." That night, for the first time, the thought of revenge entered my mind. The days after I saw him with her were like walking through fire. Every breath burned, every step felt heavy. I woke up in the mornings, pretending everything was normal, making breakfast, pouring tea for a man who was already gone from me. When he smiled, it cut me, because I knew that smile belonged to someone else now. Not me, not our home, but her. I looked at his eyes, trying to find the love I once knew, but I saw nothing, only shadows, only lies. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry out, "Why? Why did you do this to me?" But the words stayed trapped in my throat, because my heart still hoped, still begged, that maybe I was wrong. Denial wrapped around me like a blanket. It whispered, "Maybe she is just a friend. Maybe you imagined it. Maybe he still loves you." I clung to those lies, because the truth was too sharp, too heavy, too painful. At night, I turned to him, looking at his face in the dim light, searching for the man I married, the man who once promised me forever. But all I saw was distance, cold, and silence. One night, I touched his hand gently, hoping he would hold me, but he pulled away, pretending to turn in his sleep. That small act broke me more than words ever could. I cried quietly, my tears soaking the pillow, my body shaking, and I whispered into the darkness, "Why am I not enough?" The pain twisted inside me, like a knife that never stopped cutting. Every time he looked at his phone, every time he came home late, every time he smiled at nothing, the knife went deeper. I started avoiding mirrors, because when I looked, I did not see myself anymore. I saw failure. I saw weakness. I saw a woman who had given everything and still lost. I stopped talking to friends because I could not bear their questions. "Are you okay? How is married life?" I smiled and lied, "It's fine." But inside, I was breaking piece by piece. Even Luna, our little kitten, felt the change. She curled up next to me more often, as if she knew, as if she was the only one still holding me together. Sometimes, I tried to convince myself to confront him, to ask him directly, to demand the truth. But every time I opened my mouth, fear closed it again. Because what if he admitted it? What if he said the words I feared most? "I don't love you anymore." That would destroy me, and I was already so close to destruction. The worst part was watching him lie so easily. Just work. Just tired. Just busy. Every lie was another stone added to the wall between us. And yet, even in my pain, a small part of me still loved him, still wanted him to choose me, still prayed he would come back to me. That hope, that foolish hope, kept me alive, but also kept me in chains. I told myself, maybe if I try harder, he will remember me. So I cooked his favorite meals again. I dressed up. I laughed at his jokes even when they weren't funny. I tried to be the perfect wife. But nothing worked. His heart was already somewhere else. and I was left holding only the pieces. The denial began to fade, and anger started to rise, slow, steady, like fire under my skin. I thought of all the nights I cried, all the times I trusted, all the promises he made and broke, and something inside me whispered again. He betrayed you, he destroyed you, and now he must pay. It was the first time that my pain turned into rage, and my rage turned into an idea, a dangerous idea, a dark seed planted in the soil of my broken heart. But I wasn't ready yet, not fully, because the chaos inside me was still too wild, too messy. I was still drowning between love and hate. I looked at him one morning while he tied his tie, his reflection in the mirror calm, strong, untouched, and I thought, how can he look so peaceful when I am falling apart? That question did not leave me. It stayed, echoing, every day, every night. And slowly, the answer came. Maybe he looked peaceful because he thought I would never fight back. He thought I would stay silent. He thought I would break quietly, but he was wrong. The storm inside me was only beginning. The anger grew in me, slow at first, like a whisper, but soon it became louder, stronger, until I could not ignore it anymore. I was tired of crying, tired of waiting, tired of begging silently for love from a man who had already chosen someone else. One night, as I sat alone, with only Luna beside me, I whispered to myself, no more, I will not be the victim anymore. That night, the seed of revenge was born. At first, it scared me because I had never thought like that before. I was always the quiet one, the forgiving one, the woman who believed in patience and love. But betrayal changes you. It carves new scars inside you. It teaches you things about yourself, things you never wanted to know. I began to imagine, what if I could hurt him the way he hurt me? What if I could make him feel the same fire, the same tears, the same emptiness? The thought gave me a strange strength. It was dangerous, it was dark, but it felt like the only way to breathe again. I started observing him more closely, not with love, but with coldness, with calculation. I learned his patterns. When he left the house, when he returned, when he checked his phone, when he smiled at the messages, when he hid things from me. Every detail I stored in my mind, like weapons waiting to be used. I searched his jacket one night, when he was in the shower, and I found a receipt from a hotel. My hands trembled, my breath stopped, but I kept reading. A single room, for 2 people. The walls around me spun, but instead of crying, I smiled coldly, because now I had proof. I took a photo of the receipt and placed it back exactly as I found it, so he would never know that I knew. That night, while he slept peacefully beside me, I stared at the ceiling, and my mind began to plan. How do you break a liar? How do you crush a cheater? Not with tears, not with begging, but with silence, with strategy, with revenge. The first step was patience. I could not act quickly. If I rushed, he would know, he would hide better, and my chance would be gone. So I played the part, the loving wife, the quiet woman, the one who believed his lies. I cooked, I smiled, I kissed his cheek when he left, and he thought I was still blind. But inside, I was sharp now, awake, ready. The second step was information. I followed him again, but this time, I was careful. I stayed further back, never too close, never letting him see me. I watched them together, laughing, touching, stealing moments, as if I never existed. It burned me, every second, but I forced myself to watch, because pain was now my fuel, and fuel was what I needed to keep my revenge alive. I even learned her name, Maya, the woman who stole my husband, the woman who smiled with my man, as if she had won. But she had not won, not yet. The third step was finding her weakness, because revenge is not only against him, it is against her too. I searched quietly, through social media, through small details, through hints he left behind. She worked at a small design studio. She lived alone. She loved expensive things, but did not earn enough to afford them. That detail made me smile, because greed is always a crack, and cracks can be broken. The fourth step was deciding the weapon, what would cut him most. His reputation, his money, his family's trust, or his heart. I thought for nights, and then I realized his pride was his strongest shield and his weakest spot. He cared about how people saw him, as a husband, as a man, as a respected figure. That image was everything to him, and I would destroy it. But revenge is dangerous. It is like fire. If not controlled, it can burn you too. So I had to be careful. I had to think of every detail, every risk, every possibility. What if someone finds out it was me? The thought haunted me, because if I was exposed, I could lose everything, not just him, but my place, my respect, my peace. But then I reminded myself, I had already lost him, so what more could I lose? Nothing. And that gave me power. For the first time in months, I felt alive again, not because of love, not because of hope, but because of revenge. The plan was not complete yet, but the foundation was ready, and as I watched him sleep peacefully, his phone hidden under his pillow, his lies wrapped around him like a blanket, I whispered softly, "So sweet dreams, my love, because soon you will wake up to a nightmare." The plan lived inside me, like a secret flame, growing brighter each day, waiting for the right moment. I had proof now, his lies, his hotel receipts, his late nights, his hidden smile, all of it was in my hands. But proof alone was not enough. I wanted more. I wanted him to feel the same cut, the same fire, the same weight that broke me every night. So I began with silence, because silence is sharp. Silence makes a liar nervous, and I wanted him nervous. When he came home late, I did not ask where he was. I only smiled and said softly, "Long day." He nodded quickly, relieved that I did not question him, relieved that I was still blind, or so he thought. But the truth was, my silence was my weapon, and every time he lied to me, I stored it away, like arrows waiting to be released. The first move of revenge was simple but powerful. I created a fake account online, a shadow of myself, no name, no face, only words. Through that account, I sent her a message, not angry, not loud, but cold, sharp, and precise. "I know about you. I know about him. And soon, everyone else will too." I imagined her face when she read it, the fear in her eyes, the panic in her chest, because secrets only have power as long as they stay hidden. And now, her secret was no longer safe. Days later, I saw the ripple. She messaged him. I saw her name flash on his screen. Her words short, urgent, full of worry. He grew restless. He hid his phone more. He checked it every second. He walked around the house like a man being hunted. And I watched quietly, smiling inside, because the hunter had become the hunted. But that was only the beginning. The second move was sharper, more dangerous. I waited until he left for work. Then I drove to the design studio, where she worked. I walked in calmly, as if I belonged there, and asked the receptionist softly, "Excuse me, I'm here to see Maya." The receptionist smiled. "Do you have an appointment?" I shook my head. "No, but tell her it's about something very important." A few minutes later, she came out, her face pale when she saw me, because she knew who I was, the wife, the shadow, the truth she wanted to forget. Her lips trembled. "Why are you here?" I smiled coldly, leaning closer. "So you know who I am?" Her eyes darted around nervously. "Yes, please don't make a scene." I whispered softly, "My dear, I don't need to make a scene, because your whole life, your whole studio, your whole world can become a scene if I want it to." Her face turned white. She stammered, I don't want any trouble." I looked at her for a long moment, and then whispered, "Then stay away from him, or I promise you, trouble will find you." I left calmly, not looking back, but inside, I was shaking, because I had just crossed the first line, the line between pain and action. That night, he came home angry. He did not know I was the one behind it, but he sensed the tension. He sensed the cracks forming around him. "Work is so stressful," he muttered, his hands running through his hair. But I only smiled softly and placed dinner on the table, because that was my game now. Calm on the outside, fire on the inside. The third move was the riskiest yet. I took the photo of the hotel receipt and slipped a copy inside his office drawer. I knew his colleagues respected him. I knew his boss trusted him. And I knew one curious hand, one careless glance, could expose everything. It was dangerous, because if he found out it was me, everything could fall apart. But revenge is never safe. It is always a knife, and sometimes you must hold it by the blade. For days, he was restless, checking his office more often, calling his assistant late at night, and once, I even heard him whisper on the phone, "Don't worry, nobody will know." but I already knew. And soon, others would too. The ripples were spreading. Maya was scared. He was nervous. The silence between us grew heavier, thicker, full of secrets, full of fear. At night, when he finally slept, I lay awake, my mind racing, my heart pounding, not with sadness anymore, but with a strange thrill. Because revenge has a taste, and once you taste it, it is hard to stop. I whispered into the darkness. You thought you broke me, but you only woke me. And as the clock ticked, I knew this was just the beginning. The storm had only started, and soon it would destroy everything in its path. The silence before the storm is always the loudest. I had waited for weeks, playing my part, acting blind, acting weak, while inside, I was sharpening my knives. Now, the time had come. It was his birthday soon, and I knew that night, his family, his friends, his colleagues would all be gathered in one place. The perfect place, the perfect time to break his mask. I planned it carefully, every detail, every word, every moment. The hotel receipts, the messages, the photos of him with her, all of it collected in one small envelope. I looked at it every night, the proof of his betrayal, and whispered to myself, this is your weapon, and soon it will cut him deeper than he ever cut you. But still, there was fear that maybe it would backfire, fear that maybe he would twist the story and make me the villain. The thought came again, what if someone finds out it was me? What if I lose everything? But then I reminded myself I had already lost everything. The moment he touched another woman, the moment he lied to my face, the moment he killed our love. So I had nothing left to lose, and everything to win. The night of his birthday came. The house was decorated, lights glowing, music playing, laughter echoing. He looked proud, surrounded by people who admired him, respected him, trusted him. And I watched him from across the room, my heart steady, my mind sharp, the envelope in my hand, heavy with truth. He raised his glass, smiling brightly. Thank you all for coming. I am blessed, truly blessed. The words cut me, because I knew they were lies. Every blessing, he claimed, was built on betrayal. When the laughter died down, and everyone's eyes were on him, I stood up slowly and said softly, may I say something? All eyes turned to me. He looked at me with surprise, but he smiled, pretending calm. Of course, my love. I walked forward, the envelope in my hand, my voice steady, my heart burning. For years, I believed in him. I trusted him. I gave him everything I had. The room grew quiet. Even the music seemed to fade. Only my words remained. He told me I was his only one, that I was his forever, and I believed him. I opened the envelope and pulled out the photos, the receipts, the proof. But love should not be lies. Forever should not be broken promises. He shifted in his seat, his smile fading, his eyes dark with fear. I held up the papers high, so everyone could see. These are the truths he hid from me, the nights in hotels, the lies about late work, the woman who was not me. Gasps filled the room. Whispers spread like fire. His colleagues exchanged looks. His family stared in shock. And he stood quickly, his voice sharp. Stop this. This is madness. I looked straight into his eyes. Cold, steady. No, this is truth. His voice cracked. You don't understand. And I cut him with words. No, I understand everything. The silence after that was heavier than any scream. He reached for me, as if to stop me, but I stepped back, holding the proof close. This is who you are. I whispered. Not a husband, not a man of honor, but a liar and a thief of love. The room was chaos now, people muttering, some shaking their heads, some staring in disbelief. And in that moment, I saw it, the mask he wore, the pride he held, crack, shatter, break into pieces. That was only the beginning, because the final storm had not yet arrived. The room froze, his smile was gone, his mask broken, and all eyes were on him. He stepped forward, voice shaking but sharp. This is not true. She is lying. I raised the papers higher, cold and steady. Lies? Then explain this. I dropped the hotel receipt on the table, the sound loud, like a slap in the silence. Gasps filled the air. Someone whispered softly, "Oh my God." His face turned pale, but still, he tried to fight. It's nothing, just work. I looked straight at him. You said the office was closed that night. My voice broke slightly. You kissed her hand in that restaurant. Whispers spread faster now. His colleagues, his friends, even his family, looked at him with disgust. His mother's voice cracked. Is this true? He reached for her. No, Mama, please don't believe her. I stepped closer, my eyes sharp. Don't believe me? Then look at this. I held up the photo, the one I took that night. Him with her, his smile alive, his hand on hers. The room erupted. Gasps, shouts, questions flying. He turned to me, eyes burning, voice low and full of anger. You planned this. I whispered back. So did you. Every night you betrayed me. His fists clenched, his jaw tight. You could have talked to me. I laughed bitterly. Talk? While you kissed another woman? While you lied to my face, every day? What words were left? He stepped closer. You've ruined me. I met his eyes. No, you ruined yourself. I only showed them the truth. His family looked away, ashamed. His friends avoided his eyes. His colleagues whispered about his career, his reputation crumbling. And then, the door opened, and she walked in. Maya, her face pale, her eyes wide with fear. She had come, perhaps to comfort him, perhaps to defend herself. But the moment she saw me, her lips trembled. The crowd turned, staring, whispering louder. I smiled coldly. And here she is, the other woman. Gasps again. Some hands covered mouths. Shock filled the air. He shouted at her. Why are you here? I told you not to come. Her voice broke. They told me you were in trouble. I had to. I stepped between them. You should have stayed hidden because now everyone sees you too. Her eyes filled with tears. I didn't mean to hurt you. I cut her words. You didn't mean? You smiled with my husband. You touched him. You stole him. And now you say you didn't mean it. She whispered. I loved him. I snapped. He was not yours to love. The room was heavy, every word echoing, every truth cutting deeper. He grabbed my arm suddenly, voice rough. You're humiliating me. I pulled my arm free, cold, steady. You humiliated yourself the day you betrayed me. For the first time, he had no words, only silence, only shame. The crowd turned against him, murmurs of anger, murmurs of disappointment, the respect he loved so much. Gone. In one night, I looked at him one last time and whispered softly, now you know what it feels like to be broken in front of everyone. His eyes filled with rage, his face red, but his hands trembled because he knew it was over. And in that silence, I felt it, the weight lift, the pain turn into power, the betrayal turn into revenge. But the storm was not over yet. The final act was still waiting. The room was fire, whispers, gasps, shadows of shame around him, and around her. But I was not finished, not yet. I turned slowly, looking at every face in the room, his family, his colleagues, his friends, all staring, all waiting. This man, I said, my husband, made me believe in love, made me believe in forever. And then he broke it, with his lies, with his betrayal. I pulled out one last paper, the divorce papers, signed by me, waiting only for his hand. Gasps again, his eyes widened, his mouth open. No, you can't. I looked straight at him. Yes, I can. I placed the papers on the table, cold and final. This is my gift to you. On your birthday, freedom. Freedom to be with her. Freedom to lie openly. Freedom to live without me. His voice cracked. You're humiliating me in front of everyone. I cut him with words. No, I am freeing myself in front of everyone. He stepped forward, desperate now. Please don't do this. We can fix it. I shook my head slowly. Fix. Love cannot be fixed when trust is dead. And you killed it with your hands. He turned to Maya, eyes wild. You say something, tell them. But Maya looked down, her tears falling, her silence louder than any words. I whispered coldly. She won't save you because she knows the truth too. His shoulders dropped, his body shaking. The strong man, the proud man, now looked small, weak, defeated. The crowd whispered again, some angry, some pitying, but none for him. I picked up my glass, raised it high, and said softly, to truth, to betrayal, to endings. I drank slowly, my eyes never leaving his, and then placed the glass down hard, the sound echoing like thunder. This is my revenge, I whispered. You lose your pride, your respect, your image, and I walk away free. He fell back into his chair, silent, broken, eyes empty. For a moment, I almost felt pity, almost, But then I remembered the nights I cried, the lies he told, the kisses that meant nothing, and the pity vanished. I turned, walked to the door, every step steady, every step strong. Behind me, I heard his voice, low, broken. Please don't leave me. I stopped for a second, my back still turned, my voice soft, but sharp as glass. You left me long ago. I'm just leaving you now. And then, I walked out, leaving him in the ruins of his lies. Outside, the night air felt different, colder, but also lighter. For the first time in months, I could breathe, not as his wife, not as his shadow, but as myself again. The revenge was complete, the betrayal answered, the mask destroyed. And yet, as I walked into the night, a small voice whispered inside me, was it enough? Will it ever be enough? But I pushed it away, because tonight, for the first time, I was not the victim. I was the fire. The next morning, I woke up alone. For the first time in years, the bed felt too big, too quiet. The silence was heavy, but also peaceful. No lies, no late-night excuses, no phone buzzing with secrets, just silence. I walked to the mirror, looked at myself, and for the first time in months, I did not see a broken woman. I saw someone stronger, someone who survived. But still, my heart ached, because love, even broken love, leaves scars. I remembered the laughter we once shared, the promises he made, the dreams we built, all burned down, all gone. And I asked myself, was it worth it? Did my revenge give me peace? The answer was not simple. Yes, I felt strong. Yes, I felt free. Yes, I took back my power. But also, I felt empty. Because revenge does not bring back love. Revenge does not heal trust. Revenge only burns, and when the fire dies, ashes remain. Days passed. People talked. Whispers followed him. His career shook. His image destroyed. And me? I walked forward, but every step carried a shadow. I tried to smile. I tried to start again. But some nights, I lay awake, hearing his voice, his laughter, his lies. I thought of Maya too, her tears, her fear, her silence, and I wondered, did she win him? Or did she lose like me? Maybe both. Because in betrayal, no one truly wins. I visited my parents one evening. They hugged me tight and whispered, "You are brave. You chose yourself." Their words warmed me, but inside, I still searched for peace. I wrote in my journal, page after page, trying to understand, trying to heal, and one line stayed in my heart. I did not lose him. He lost me. That thought gave me strength, made me breathe again, made me believe that sometimes walking away is the loudest revenge of all. Months later, I saw him again, by chance, in the market, his face thinner, his eyes darker, his smile gone. He looked at me, but did not speak. Only shame in his eyes, only silence. And I walked past, without a word, without a glance back. Because my story with him was finished. And as I walked into the sunlight, I whispered to myself, yes, I am free. But freedom is never clean. It carries scars. It carries lessons. I learned that love can break. I learned that trust can die. And I learned that sometimes revenge gives power, but not peace. So if you hear my story, remember this: do not give your soul to someone who cannot keep your heart safe. And if they betray you, do not let it destroy you. Rise, speak, take back your voice. Because even if revenge leaves scars, strength remains. And in the end, that strength, that freedom, that courage is what saved me. So this is my story, not of love, not of betrayal only, but of becoming someone stronger than the pain I carried. If you stayed with me through this story, thank you. Your time means more than you know. Maybe you've felt betrayal. Maybe you've carried scars too. If my words touched even a small part of your heart, share your thoughts in the comments. I would love to hear your story. And if you want more stories like this, you're welcome to stay connected here. Not forced, just an open door. Because sometimes sharing pain makes it a little lighter for all of us.